Okay, thanks. So again, let me introduce. My name is Alvin. In fact, I remember this like Gartner report that we hear, as well as Adrian Johnson talk about the tiering, as well as some of our customers. In fact, I've been doing tiering all my life as well. I was born in Malaysia. My father think Malaysia is not so good for Chinese, so he moved the whole family to Toronto in Canada. And then when I grow, I say, maybe this is not the right place. So I say, Orientals should be come back to Asia. And then as well, I do the same thing for my hard drive as well. I put in SSD drive in my C drive. I put in large capacity on my D drive. I even buy the bigger 64 gig SD card. But I just want to do that. And then, in fact, a couple of weeks ago, I just traveled to Toronto and Austin. So even no matter how you actually architect the tiering, you can move your data. Yeah. Sometimes, but for laptop, it's not that easy. So for laptop, sometimes I feel it is very painful. Like if I think there's a program that I did not use that often, I install on D drive, which is regular drive, and later on I found I need to use it, I actually have to uninstall and then reinstall on C drive, which is my SSD drive, right? So sometimes this menu tiering and auto tiering actually make a big difference. So in here, I would like to start my session. Yes, the goal is to share with you how we can actually protect the information asset that we have. But before I do that, just kind of like want to share with you, there's actually three things that I would like to discuss. The first one is, when we look at the Dell storage product or solution or our whole framework of Fluence data architecture, please notice that we actually spend a lot of time with our customer and truly try to understand what is your need and what's your requirement so that we can build all these features into the system. And as well, we all know all our business are growing dynamically, right? There's good time, there's bad time. We have enemy to fight. We have competitor in Delhi. We have competitor in Mumbai. Hey, we want to explore the China opportunity as well. So business is always very dynamic. So how do we actually make our solution as dynamic as you want, so that it's flexible enough to always deal with the changes? And last but not least, the information that I want to share is, make no mistake, if we do have the chance to host the data, we do want to protect it. So we do want to view the data protection like a key feature that is always available everywhere. So in a nutshell, what is really about Fluence? Basically, the whole concept and the benefit is very simple. It's when you need the data that you really need, it's actually just be there for you at the right time, at the right place, at the right cost. Sometimes you can say, I want to buy a lot of hard disks. Yes, you can throw money to hard disks. But the more data that you save on the hard disk, it doesn't mean you can get the data back as fast as you want. Sometimes you actually have to pay premium to get to the speed of retrieval. So Fluence is basically the whole concept out, not just storing easily, but also be able to retrieve easily for you as well. So instead of just opening the discussion like everybody else say, oh, data is growing, right? Oh, of course, data is growing. Good time, bad time, we always have to write more proposal, more PPT, right? So instead of just talk about data protection or data management in a generic sense, let's look at two classic examples that actually a lot of customers are facing. So yes, we have a lot of data, but business are using the data every day, and business have different requirements. So when we look at how a data solution can actually kind of address some of the business need, we kind of like say, yes, there are different kind of category of problem, but there's two that actually stand out very significantly. One that is saying that all the digital information that we produce, maybe after 3 to 6 months, it becomes actually very inactive. And then maybe 9 months later or 1 year later, it becomes pure static. So how do we actually, as a business owner, how do we actually deal with all this massive amount of cold data? So this is one dynamic. And on the other dynamic, some of our customers will say, Alvin, cold data is easy. All I need to do is pay more money to buy hard disk, right? They say, no, I have a different category of problem. The problem I am dealing is when I have a good business period, like during a good time, I am worried that whether my storage system is capable to deal with that. So how do you actually make me, when I have a really peak business hour, how can you make sure all the transactions can process as smooth as possible? So two different categories of problem that we actually dealing with. So as mentioned, we have a very good technology called data progression. As Hamid, as well as our end user, endorsed that. In fact, I remember when Hamid actually introduced and explained the data progression to our Bombay customer last Friday, we have so many questions from customer. Customers say, how is it possible? How is it possible that you set up your different tiering? How are you capable to detect my code data? And when Hamid say, I can guarantee all the write is going to RAID 10 and then read can be shared between RAID 10 and RAID 5, how is it possible? Well, in fact, if you have the chance to look at the demo system that we set up there, we have some Ask the Expert, or you can look at some of the print screen in here. In fact, it's a lot easier and it's a lot simpler than we thought. So first of all, for example, when you purchase a system like Compellent, if you decided to say, yes, I do want to have different tier, like I leverage the large capacity to save number of spindle, number of hard disks, and I only keep my tier 1 as a performance tier. Once you set it up and you turn on the Compellent for the first time, it will actually present you this particular screen. Say, I detect your system actually have different tier or hard drive. You might have SSD, you might have 15K, and you might have 7.2K. And this is what I see. Is that what you want? All you need to say, yeah, this look good, okay, done. So that's how you actually set up your tiering. And after that, you can customize and tailor-make your tiering performance based on per individual application, per LAN, or per workload. All you need to do is utilize a concept what we call storage profile. You just basically assign each of your workload with different characteristics. So let me give you one example. Let's say, because I'm based out of Hong Kong, and there's a place called Macau, which is 1 hour away from Hong Kong by boat. Just FYI, Macau casino is a casino. Macau casino business is actually 4 times the Las Vegas casino business. Huge. And when I met with a customer and talk about this tiering feature, yeah, he said, oh yeah, this all sounds good. This data progression can spot the core data and can help move the data if I'm not using it from tier 1 to tier 2 and tier 3, great. But they say, how about my Chinese New Year? You know, during the Chinese New Year, this is the golden period where I really need to have all my performance at top tier because I just simply have too many customers at that time. So what we say is, remember the storage profile that we mentioned earlier? We have some default setting there, and the default setting actually say, if this is a regular data and if it is still in active stage, yes, all the write, you have a checkbox here, use RAID 10, and then if it is historical data or read-only data, because we have a checkbox here, it will automatically use the most efficient RAID file that we have. And after that, you have tier 2. If the data become inactive, later on, we move it to tier 3. Remember this profile? If during the good peak hour, all you need to do is uncheck the checkbox and then click OK. For that period on, from that moment on, the data will always stay at tier 1. And you can do it online, yes. And after these 2 golden weeks, all you need to do is go back to this particular profile again and check this checkbox. So how do you actually make the tiering work in Compellent during the, for the data progression? It's actually very straightforward. All you need to do is, for the workload that you want, you associate with a storage profile. And then you tailor-make your profile to the business SLA that you need. So for example, if I have 10 applications, I can create 10 different storage profiles. So for those 5 that is in tier 2 category, I will just uncheck this tier 1. Sorry, there's no way for this low party application to use my most expensive disk. You just go to tier 2 and then sync to tier 3. So it's very easy to configure and actually very dynamic. So if you do your storage management this way, one of the things that you will find is as you continue to experience data growth, the new hard disk that you're going to buy is not those expensive hard disks. You just continue to buy large capacity hard disks. So this is one particular customer example. When you do the sizing properly, the tier 1 is always capable to deal with all the incoming traffic. And after that, when they become inactive, we just move to the large capacity tier, cheaper tier. So this is what we can do. And then further on, we just continue to buy larger and larger capacity. If you do it, your management this way, some magic will happen. If you add up the math, you will see one interesting result. Your CFO is going to like you for that. The more storage that you grow, the average gigabyte, the dollar per gigabyte actually is lower. So this is like very interesting. In the past, when you have a storage grow, your costs go out like this, right, as well, right? But this is maybe the first time when your storage grow, actually your costs become actually back to earth. Because we have gravity, you cannot just grow like this. We can actually have a total cost control. So a customer actually looking at this and say, but all you are sharing with me is just cost saving. Yes, I know cost saving is important. Is there any breakthrough technology that you put into this solution that make me actually capable to accelerate as well? And the answer is definitely yes. In fact, if we do a quick comparison between technology, as we know, in the whole IT technology sector, there are 4 key ingredient technology, or the 4th fundamental element of technology: the CPU, the memory, the network, and the I/O, right? These are the 4 key pieces that build out the whole IT system that we have. And the technology evolution for the last 17 years, just as an example, you can see it's always, storage revolution is always the slowest one. And yes, we wait for so long and then we get 15K rotation speed. And then nothing happened in the last 8 years. We haven't heard something called 20K rotation speed, right? So sometimes, if you never experienced this, please try to buy one of our Dell XPS 13. If you have a regular drive before and now try to use a laptop that is pure SSD, you're going to know what I mean by hard disk is your slowest and become the bottleneck for your business. So what did we do? So in here, we actually invent quite a few things to make sure we can have a very effective system to deal with a slow technology like hard drive. So first we invent a concept called thin write. Thin write basically means when you write your database transaction into a particular hard disk, in fact, because the way we structure our database is always by different table, right? And table we have column. And for column like first name, last name, we always have to reserve some of the field in the length of the column there. So when you're actually writing a data, in fact, all this information that you're pumping into your database and save in the hard disk have many zeros in there. And in fact, there's really no point to write 0 to the hard disk. 0 is, well, you can write it, but when you're dealing with such a slow spindle, you just slow as well, right? So thin write is a very basic concept. Say, I know you have 0 you want to write. I help you remember that. So instead of writing 10,000 0, I remember, you need to have 10,000 0. So instead of 10,000 transaction I require, I have 1. So this is one of the features that not only it saves a lot of hard disk space usage, as well as it can actually bypass this physical constraint. And another thing that we actually invent as well is a concept called fast track. When you look at a hard disk, in fact, every hard disk, if you just open it out, you will see many player. And you will see a moving kind of like mechanical head to try to move in and try to read the data. And it's just pure physics. The spindle head, while it's spinning, when we try to read the information, the data that you write in the inner ring, it's going to take longer because that's how long it will require to move the head to inside, right? So we actually say, what if your business really needs some form of acceleration, why don't I help you by reserve the outer 20% of every single player as your fast track? And then when you write information, I first write within the ring. And then when I start to see you start to picking out some of the data become active, we will now move all this active data from inner ring to the outer ring. To kind of like help you really take the benefit of all the physical layout. So yes, physical media hard disk is always slow, but there are science and technology that we can skip or we can improve the situation. So that's what is part of the compelling solution. In fact, you might say, well, Alvin, this sounds pretty interesting. How difficult is this for me to realize this benefit? In fact, if you remember this slide that I showed you, the first time that you set up this tiering, all you need to do is, there's actually one column called track, there's something called standard track, and there's something called fast track. So if you say, well, this drive, those drive that I have, not only I will really actually save a lot of cost in terms of total ownership for the whole storage, as well as be able to deal with the acceleration that is required. And that's why a company like Mazda, when they use a regular traditional storage, they have to spend 75% or even longer time to just muck around and try to do everything manually. In fact, the higher reliability you want to get, the more manpower and more maintenance you have to pay. So when they move to compelling, not only they see 400% performance increase in their SAT database application, as well as be able to reduce their backup window by 9 hours. Plus, they actually have a lot of energy to do other creative IT projects as well. So this is one of the benefits that actually Mazda enjoy. But of course, I can share with you, this is the internal benefit that Mazda is enjoying. But all of this doesn't really help Mazda to create the supercar, right? Well, let's assume the technology can really help Mazda to improve the car technology and really create a fast car. But still, Mazda cannot solve this problem, right? Yeah. I remember I landed in Delhi on Sunday. Oh, traffic is good. I go everywhere. I thought this is the thing, right? But on Monday and Tuesday, I start to realize, wow, maybe this is, I have a wrong impression. So sometimes, you know, if you are driving, you just sometimes, you stuck in the traffic and you say, why is everybody have to drive at the same time? Can we like coordinate better? Like split the loading a little bit? But hey, not only the traffic work this way, business work this way as well. It's very unpredictable. So that's what we mean by hot data. Cold data, it's very easy to spot, and when we know we're no longer using it, we can sync it to another tier and sync it to lower tier. The challenge is always how do you spot the hot usage, and how do you make sure we can actually have a smooth sailing when we have a hot usage. So the whole concept of fluent data architecture, in fact, is try to give us some of the unique capability to be able to deal with even a traffic jam like an I/O contention situation like this. It's capable to help us move the data, those that really want speed, to the fast lane. And those that doesn't need speed, well, you continue to stay at the slow lane, right? So how do we do that? So a technology like Ecologic, we have one of the interesting configuration for Ecologic. This one actually, because we all like 747, we know 747 jack is very fast, so we actually follow that. This one is what we call 717. You have 7 SSD drive plus 17 regular drive. So this is actually one of the hybrid array that we have in Ecologic. And for regular usage, in fact, you just write the data as usual. In fact, for the GUI and for the regular usage, none of your Windows and none of your VMware or Linux can actually tell the difference. They just write the data. But behind the scenes, in fact, we do many, many interesting things. So first of all, what we did is, after the RAID configuration is done, we will take 20 gig of space out of that SSD pool. Because as we know, if you haven't experienced this, or at least you read from the newspaper, you know this. If you have an earthquake situation, the first 7 days is the most important day. This is the time actually make the difference between whether you can save a human life or not, right? When you're dealing with I/O peak hour, it's exactly the same. If you can capable to handle the first 15 minutes strike time, you are capable to continue to sustain the heat. If you cannot hold that 15 minutes, everything else just pile out. You just continue to slow down, drag everything, right? So it's very crucial for us to allocate this super fast drive, the SSD, to actually help us on the right cache, so that we don't just rely on memory, because no matter how many memory you have, you're going to run out. So we can capable to use the SSD to buffer it out as well. And it will continue to use the SSD for all the incoming traffic. And when SSD drive is full, it will continue to write to the regular drive. And this is where the Ecologic, what we call the acceleration speed, start to kick in. It runs 7 times 24. It's always there to detect whether you actually have any hot usage or not. So if you have some hot usage actually already stored on SSD, we know you are in best speed, so nothing to worry. But if we detect some of the hot data actually is sitting on the regular drive, once we detect that, we will actually say, okay, SSD, do you have any cold data? If yes, let's do a swap. I have some hot data that I really need help. Please process it on your SSD drive. And all those static data, just move it on the regular 10K drive. So we will do this automatically, seamlessly behind the scene, 7 times 24, to make sure all your good transaction time actually just continue to survive and continue to enjoy the speed. And we can do this not just for just one array, because the problem with one storage array is its limited capacity. In fact, we also introduced this technology to multiple array. So Ecologic actually have the magic to enjoy the peer scaling. You can have 3 storage instead of like traditional storage where each one is a data island, you have to manage it completely separately. And if one system is very busy, the other two is not, well, the first one is, you just say, well, the other one just says, tough luck, that's your problem, not my problem, right? In ecological world, we make all the storage talk to each other. So for example, in this particular case, if I have a high performer array on the right, and you have a low performer array on the left, so when you actually write data, your data might be coming in any fashion. So we just want to take as many hits as possible. So we let you write everywhere you want. But when you start to use your data, depend on your business logic, the distribution might not be fair, right? You don't always put your hot data like in the fastest array, right? Well, unless you want to manage it manually. Like in my past example, if I know I have a fast application, I put it on C drive, the SSD drive. But I have to know this first. In ecological world, we just manage it automatically. So once we see some hot data coming in, maybe we have an unfair allocation. Maybe some of the hot data is actually allocated on the low, slow performer array. Once we detect that, we do exactly the same algorithm. We ask the fast array, say, hey buddy, what is your response time? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people can tell you, well, cache is important, CPU is important, maybe the PCI is important, maybe the SAS 1.0, or maybe whatever is important. To us, we just make it very fundamental and into one key question. What is your response time? If your response time is 2 milliseconds and my response time is 50 milliseconds, very simple. You are faster than me because you can process more. I am not as fast as you. So as soon as we ask our buddy in the system, say, hey, what is your processing power, your latency, your response time? If you are lower than mine, I can actually give you some of my hot data while you send me some of your cold data. So this is how the system is capable to move the data. So let me give you an example to see how this fluid data architecture in action. So allow me to use a virtualized environment as an example. Whether this is virtual desktop or virtual server, the concept is the same. Well, let me see, how many of us actually implement VDI solution? Anyone? Virtual desktop, VDI. Is it fun? Okay. So for some of you that actually haven't go to the virtual desktop yet, just be careful on one thing. You are going to have, interesting enough, don't know why, but all your employees log in at 9 o'clock in the same time. And then somehow magically everybody coordinate to log off like 7 p.m. at night. Don't know why, but it just happened. So which means for every VDI solution, you're going to experience a huge login storm, as well as a very big log off storm as well, every single day. So if your system is not capable to deal with that kind of spike traffic, it might be trouble. So in this particular example, if I have a VMware environment or Hyper-V environment, I know I have a server farm, I can actually add one more server, physical server, and increase the resources that I have on my front-end server. And once I have the resources on the front-end server, I can say, now that I have new resources, I can actually move some of the VM so that it's more balanced, right? I can utilize all my resources. Now, let's take a look on this animation again. So let me move the VM back to where it is. Originally, those are where the VM are in, as well as where the incoming I/O traffic is coming. But look closely. When I do a vMotion and when I do my live migration, look at this again. The I/O path will no longer stuck like in the traditional storage. It will follow the VM. The VM go this resources, we follow these resources. The VM move these resources, we move with it as well. So this is a scenario where you move your head, your body follow as well. This is a balanced resources allocation. The I/O path will never, it's written down in the technology that it will not become a bottleneck. So this is one thing that can happen. And at the back end, we also have the similar technology to group everything together, and we can seamlessly add one more storage to make it a bigger pool, and we grow the storage, the pie as well as the capacity as well. And like the front end, we also can actually use the resources more effectively, like moving some of the data, like for example, the yellow resources. Let me show it again. From this array to actually dynamically to move it to this array. regardless of hypervisor implementation. So some of us actually say, oh, I like VMware. There's a new feature called Storage vMotion. Or now that you are in Hyper-V, sorry, there's no such feature. If you see Citrix, no such feature. But hey, unless you move to a new version of VMware, you also don't have this feature, right? So if you want to have this capability to be able to move your back-end resources in a fluent IO way, we can actually give you independent of the hypervisor. So this is actually available, and together combine all the resources that we can use, we actually have the chance to run even more VM. Because now the single point of bottleneck is no longer just single point, because we group them together and they all work out like brother and sister together for the front end loading. So this is what we actually want to do, as well as give you a transparent management screen so that there's no guessing work. You always know what you're doing. So this is very good for task reduction. So that's some of the reasons why we continue to want the award in the industry. In US, there's a magazine called Storage Magazine. And in fact, if you take a look on the last 4 years, in fact, we are on the front page on every single year. So some of the capability that we have are actually been recognized by the industry as well. Everything I say so far is nice, is useful maybe, but they are all plumbing. Those are the infrastructure thing, right? One of the things that we really want, and our mission, we know our mission is very clear. If we do have the chance to host your data, we need to protect it well. And we need to protect it in the right way as well. So if you ever took picture, maybe this experience can relate to that. They are kind of like, you took a picture on the same place, but somehow you look at the picture, one look like this and one look like this. On planet Earth, which one we would keep? Normally? Yeah, like human normally process this, right? We cannot process this, right? So we actually learned this in the hard way during the 80 and 90. Many Oracle or SQL Server and DB2 customer, they actually say, you know, we have this critical database, we need to protect it. And they learn it the hard way. They say, oh, okay, all I need to do is just back up the data, right? Use snapshot or whatever replication. I just protect the data. And when you need it, I always have the copy and I can restore. I can help you restore back. But many people really learn it the hard way. If you do not inform the application, but just literally take your snapshot and replication that way, when time comes for restore, sorry, Oracle, DB2, SQL Server is going to look at this and say, what is this? You did not tell me what is this. You are not connecting with me, so this is garbage. So some customers say, but I thought I have a synchronous replication. Well, yes, but are you synchronous with the application? Or you just talking about the physical plumbing infrastructure synchronous? If the application is not informed, sorry, whatever we have in fact is garbage. So we want to make sure we are doing it the right way, application away. Why is that important? Because VMware, because Hyper-V, because Citrix, they work exactly like Oracle. You must coordinate well with the application, otherwise every attempt on backing the information out end up garbage. And as well, we need to have the capability. I think most of the time we say the reason why we want to do backup is because we need to use it for recovery, right? And sometimes for recovery point of view, in fact, it starts to share a lot of between different backup methods. So let me share with you this particular scenario. If I have one LAN which have 4 VM running on top of that, for sure, I can utilize some sort of snapshot or replication, some kind of data protection to back up the data into another place. So I have no trouble doing that. Many people, many technology can do that. However, when I have a single VM failure, how am I going to restore? Most of this is the minute where you see a lot of people say, you know what, I don't know how to say it to you, but you better schedule a downtime. Because when I restore, I overwrite everything. This is how you back up, and this is how you're going to restore. So this, in some sense, we call this destructive recovery. Yes, you restore that VM, but you also kind of kill the other VM as well, right? Especially, think about this. If your snapshot, the latest snapshot is 3 hours ago, yes, you can bring that broken VM back, but the 3 production VM, you just essentially lost 3 hours of production data. That is not acceptable, right? So what we want to say is, wouldn't it be nice we can do selective restore? Be able to go to the granular level that we want and be able to do that. So this is what actually we are talking about, and we really want to do that. So what do? We make this free for our customer. You don't actually have to ask for it. You have this capability in the system. And as well, like for example, we have some tool that we give to our customer. It's a free tool. We call this DPACK. You can search DPACK. So you can download, and basically you can run it on a server, and it will look at your server maybe for 24 hours or maybe 3 days or 7 days, and basically help you collect the information and generate a very nice report. And for the report, you actually have the chance to see the insight on how of your application or server is internal memory, I/O, latency, everything. So in this particular customer case, where I serve them, I say, you have a very busy storage. They say, oh yeah, I need a very, very, very fast storage. Well, I say, wow, looking at your I/O requirement, if you have a peak hour like this, or even 99%, you are still running like 20,000 I/O. You really need to allocate a big budget to buy this powerful storage, right? Oh, yes, yes. But later on, when I look at it, I say, this kind of like traffic is kind of funny. What happened here? He said, oh, this happened during our backup, and backup is very important. And then I start to ask, so how do you do your backup? Oh, it's very easy. We shut down our Oracle server, and we CP everything into the storage. And then once it's finished, we repower our Oracle, continue again. I say, wow. So this is how you do it. In fact, there's an interesting way we can make it easier. We actually have a concept called continuous data protection. Or in compiler, we call it replay. Basically, this is what we call snapshot on steroid. For many of us that actually have some dark shadow or very painful experience in snapshot, this actually will win your heart back on snapshot. First, it doesn't have any pre-allocation. It doesn't require any allocation space at all. And then you can set your expiration date. And then every single snapshot that you have, it doesn't have any relationship at all. You can go in and delete any one you want. And this particular implementation actually introduced a concept called Headless Snapshot. Why is that important? Because human mistake will happen, right? Sometimes, even though you have snapshot protecting everything, and somehow some administrator will just say, oops, sorry, I just delete the LAN. Oops, sorry. And normally when you delete your LAN, forget about your snapshot, they all go away. But in our implementation, we actually use a concept called Headless Snapshot. Yes, the LAN is going away, but as long as the snapshot haven't reached the expiration date, you can still using that for recovery. So small thing like we even have a concept called recycle bin. Don't worry. Yes, I know oops can happen, but check your recycle bin. It's still there. Only 7 days after you really don't touch it, then we purge it. So this is what we've been doing, and the customer actually using that solution and start to protect their data. And now their I/O requirement from the peak of 20,000 is now 3,000. Very affordable storage to purchase, and they enjoy all the benefit of data progression. So this is just one of the key elements as part of our full data architecture. So this morning, Adrian Johnson actually shared with us in terms of where we are and where we are going. I think it's very important for a customer to know a very predictable vendor behavior. The last thing we want to give you is surprise and say, sorry, thank you very much. Thank you so much for business. But the thing that you like the most, end of life, sorry. Like, storage is not a desktop or notebook. You cannot expire every 3 or 4 years. So it's very important for us to not only build the modular and scale approach in our architecture, but to also share with you our key ingredient. So in our blueprint, we make it very simple. These are the key direction or key tenet that we build. You can know this is the fact now, and 3 years from now, 5 years from now, if you they'll come up with new technology, it's because of to fulfill this fulfillment. So for example, for self-protecting, make no mistake, very important. Dynamic tiering, very important. How do we be able to speak native to the cloud? Very important. How do we force ourselves to always come up with a modular approach to skip the whole forklift upgrade painful? Well, this is one of our design tenets. So this actually is our blueprint actually for now as well as for the next 3 to 5 years. So very straightforward and very easy to understand. Now, because this session we want to share more with you about data protection, so let's continue to do that. So the whole concept of data protection everywhere, why is it important? Don't I have tape drive already? Well, yes, we can have tape drive. And Dell, we have small tape library, big tape library, huge tape library. We have everything, right? So yes, we can do that. But if we look at the situation, the whole IT dynamic has been moving extremely fast in the last few years. 8 years ago, VMware is not even well known in India, right? But now we are dealing with customers that have thousands of VM. And in the past, we talk about you can only get your storage space tomorrow, like our end users share with us, right? Now, 5 minutes, you get it, right? So there are many, many things that are actually moving, plus together with the cloud, plus virtual client, everything. But if you look at this and how we deal with our backup, it's kind of the opposite direction. For many of us, we still stuck on 20th century. The front end actually moved, but the back end doesn't move. So sometimes, as we know, tape actually have a very high failure rate. So even you spend your love, your time to back up all the data, and when you really need it, your last line of defense, sometimes it doesn't really please you as well. So they got to have a better way. So there are many interesting technology happening in the last few years. So for example, Sean actually shared with us a concept called deduplication, as well as compression. So if we can leverage technology like this and put it on hard disk, we can actually come up with a model that makes hard disk, because disk fundamentally is more expensive than tape. But if we can skip on all this particular redundancy as well as compress the data, we can actually make the disk cost almost as close as a tape. And we enjoy all the benefit of all the fast spindle in this instead of like dry. So that's what we did. We introduced a product called DR4000. It's an inline data duplication backup target. So basically it was, if you want to enjoy a concept called, would it be nice I have the chance to do full backup every night? Well, tape, forget it. The more data you have, tape just basically cannot fulfill. But with this, there's a chance for us to do that. And in fact, the more full backup you have, the higher the dedupe ratio that you can enjoy. And for those that we skip all the duplication, and for those that we save on this, we can even compress to save even further. So this is one of the interesting technology, and to make sure this actually is a welcome technology to our customer, we do one thing, very straightforward. All features are available for free, including remote data protection as well. Because we know, like if you might have your data center in New Delhi and you have to back it out to Bangalore. So the dedupe data that you enjoy safe on locally, would it be nice to use the same technology to replicate to your DR site and enjoy all the WAN optimization? Because now your data is no longer sending it repeatedly. We dedupe the data and we actually only save the dedupe data over there. We do not continue to send all the repeat data. So even including the replication feature, we make it free to all our customers. But this is just one particular solution. In fact, I met with a customer, they say, Alvin, when is the last time for Dell, you guys stop talking about hardware? Can you guys talk about software? Okay, let's talk about software. We actually have another interesting capability called App Assure. App Assure is actually, if you're interested in a concept called fast recovery, App Assure is an interesting technology to help you reach there. So for example, for all the server that I want to protect, I put a small agent in there. And that small agent will continue back out all the data to protected server. And in the disaster situation, yes, I can recover to the front, or I can even achieve bare metal restore. In fact, I can do better than that. While it is protecting, I can actually create something called virtual standby. Because the last thing we want is, all you talk about is protect the data, but if my server crash, I still need 2 hours to bring back my application, right? Before I can read the data, right? I increase my RTO time. Why can't you protect my application as well? So we can actually have the concept of virtual standby as well. In fact, we make it so flexible that you can actually make P to V, V to V. So it's actually a lot of interesting standby mode that you can enjoy. So let's look at how this technology in action. So all the server that you want to protect, including desktop, you can put a small agent in there. And the small agent will continue depend on your requirement. You can actually say, ship my data to this backend every 5 minutes or every 15 minutes. You can just continue to do that. Now, in the past, why don't we do that? This is a very straightforward concept, right? Why don't we do that in the past? Because the more snapshot, the more data you copy, the more space you need at the back, right? So how do we solve this problem? Very straightforward. Everything that you ship to the backend, we dedupe and compress. So even let's say you back out your host every 15 minutes and one day you have 96 snapshots, we make sure the space is as efficient as possible by using built-in dedupe as well as compression. It doesn't require any special storage or any special backup software to give you the dedupe. There's no extra licensing. It's just there for you. So while you do this, the agent actually have two purposes. The first purpose is to ship the data to the protected server so that it's protected. This small agent that you loaded on the server actually can be a hero as well. So let's look at one scenario. What if your Exchange server have C drive, D drive, E drive, and let's say your F drive is where you put all your information store. Let's say your F drive have 10 terabytes of data and gone. Sorry, corrupted. How soon can you bring back 10 terabytes of data? Anyone? Yeah. The unit that we all use is not hour, it's not minute, it's there, right? What if I give you a concept, say you can actually achieve, even for 20 terabyte data recovery, you can achieve in minutes. It's like magic. So this small agent that we put in there, it can actually act as a small router, I/O router. So the minute when you say, oh, this server actually have some data failure, my F drive is gone, we go to the back end and say, please help this agent, this server to restore. And while we're actually pumping in the data, if your Exchange servers continue want to read the actual data, for those that already landed and restore back in the a local hard drive, we help you retrieve the data. For those that haven't shipped back yet, the agent will actually do a smart I/O routing and get it from the back. So your Exchange server will not be able to detect whether this is from the local hard drive or from the protected server. Your business application just continue. And all the data that we protect in the protected server is all deduped as compressed, and we can ship it to DR side. And we save a lot of money in terms of WAM optimization as well. So this is doable. So net Live App Assure give you a concept called live recovery. Because at the end of the day, how you back up? Well, you are talking about how good you are in recovery, right? You are represented by how good you are in recovery. So we give you a concept called live recovery. Minute level, massive amount of data recovery. It's like anti-gravity, but it is true. If you have the chance to see this, you actually be very surprised how it works. And then also, we give you a concept called recovery assurance. Everything that we protect, not only is deduped and compressed, we will continue to check the integrity. And assuming there's no disaster happening, and yet you say, Allah, my boss just deleted an email by mistake, stupid. You can still go to the protected server and do single email restore. Somebody just delete some row of data from that table. You do a table level compare to restore selective data. So that's what at the end of the day, we want to give you flexibility. And last piece is to give you a flexibility to do P2P, P2V, V2P, and V2B. All kind of combination of recovery. So having all this hardware and software capability is kind of nice, but sometimes I remember Sean actually asked a good question, right? We have a customer, how many terabytes? 50 terabytes on your NAS. In fact, for most customers that actually start to go beyond 10 terabytes, in fact, the interesting question becomes, what if I cannot back up, right? Like if you have 50 terabytes, you can start to really appreciate what I just said. There's just no practical way to back up at all. Like, sorry, a weekend, 48 hours is just not long enough for my full backup. So while your data continue to explore, sooner or later, you're going to hit a point where you know, whether it's software, hardware, it's just literally impossible to do backup. So what do you do next? Well, we actually say there might be an interesting technology if you already reached that stage. It's what we call object-based technology. So instead of worry about backup, let's take a look on Microsoft Exchange 2010. How many of us actually use Exchange 2010? Yeah. So for those that actually enjoy 2010, you know there's a concept called DAG, right? Data Availability Group. And if you look at the the brochure in terms of how they describe DAG, it says this is a concept called backupless. Because now we can keep multiple copies. So even when you lost one copy, you still have two. Even you lost the second one, you still have one more to help recover. So you no longer actually require to back out because the platform is giving you that capability. So DX storage is this type of storage that gives you the capability to hold massive amount of data. And if you want, it can help you distribute across different locations as well and help you keep multiple copies. And this is actually a very interesting technology. It's 128 bit of addressing space, so really huge capacity we talk about, as well as it have all the nice self-healing protected feature in there, so you don't really actually require to back out, and it's all based on common base architecture, HTTP. Some of our customers actually say, wow, this almost sounds like, and say, yes, this is the journey to the cloud. When you start to plan for your own private cloud, or you want to go for hybrid cloud or public cloud, when you really want to have an infrastructure that is worry-free, scalability, internal capacity, this type of technology can bring you there. And you can continue to have more capacity without worry about the backup. So I know this is some of the interesting topic, and many of us actually want to try, but one of the problems we know is many cloud attempts actually fail because just simply do try and error is actually very painful. So we actually help, together with some of our key ISV, we actually create some reference architecture. Together with DX, not only the data is fully protected, but you can leverage the platform to scale as well as build some interesting application. So for example, let me share with you this particular one. So most of us has mobile phone, right? iPhone or Android. And we heard of a concept called SkyDrive, right? And G Drive or Dropbox, right? Think about this. What if your CIO, your CEO starts saving the company document into SkyDrive? Wouldn't it be interesting, eh? Yeah. So say, boss, please don't do that. Then the boss say, where should I save? Well, why don't I give you an enterprise, scalable, you don't have to worry the backup kind of Dropbox. So this is the kind of reference architecture we can build together. So this is pretty much the end of my slide, but to actually share with you, whatever I share with you, software, hardware, those are just components. To really help customers to achieve the real benefit, we actually work very close with our service team as well. And this is one of the comments that I got in Hong Kong, in one of the big banks that actually print money. Actually, this is one of the feedback they say, interesting enough, when we work with Dell service to actually implement the solution, it's kind of like one team. And yes, you kind of understand your best practice maybe mean good for other customers, but you have to understand my requirement. You have to make the best practice good for me as well as endless documentation and endless training. So this is one of the feedback, and yes, many different components, many different vendors solution we can add as a single throat to choke to deal with the whole project ownership. And this is the end. So I hope I share with you some of the technology and information that demonstrate how dynamic we can be, as well as flexible, as well as have the customer in mind, as well as data is always important. We want to protect it everywhere. So when you have a fight, you want to be very competitive in Delhi or in Bombay or the whole India. You want to go global. You want bazooka. You want Apache helicopter. The whole fluid data architecture, don't assume one product can make everybody happy. You cannot win a war with single weapon. We give you all the different kind of arsenal to fight the battle and win the war. So in here, I would like to share with you a video to kind of like update what kind of portfolio we have. Okay, thanks.
We'd like you to remain seated and watch this video coming up.
Struggling with an explosion of data.
along with the need to store, access, backup, and archive it, all the while making sure performance requirements and retention policies are being met. In this ever-growing complex environment, where current IT budgets are not used on strategic initiatives to move businesses forward, but instead to simply keep the lights on, there is a clear answer. Introducing Dell Fluid Data Solutions, a comprehensive portfolio of products, software, and services designed to enable you and your business to automate, optimize, scale, protect, and integrate easily and cost-effectively. Dell Primary Storage Solutions can centralize resources, automate operations, simplify administration, and scale with your business. Dell Compellent Powerful Enterprise Storage. Designed for cloud and massive scale enterprise environments, Dell Compellent Storage Center is a powerful multi-protocol solution that applies advanced block-level intelligence and efficiency-optimized automation to dynamically manage data and lower the overall cost of storage. Dell EqualLogic Unified Virtualized IP Storage. Linear scalability of capacity and performance, coupled with an all-inclusive software delivery model, make Dell EqualLogic virtualized IP storage solutions ideal for rapid growth and aggressive consolidation. Dell Powervault Modular Disk Storage. Dell Powervault primary storage solutions are designed to offer enterprise-class features and functionality at the lowest cost per gigabyte, and are optimized for small business and branch office environments. Dell Secondary Storage Solutions. Dell's data protection and archiving solutions are designed to improve quality of service, decrease complexity, and reduce costs, so that you are confident your information is protected, available, and can be rapidly recovered in the event of downtime. The Dell DX Object Storage Platform. An advanced alternative to file-based solutions, the Dell DX Object Storage Platform allows organizations to flexibly and cost-effectively manage digital content on a large scale. Dell Powervault Backup to Disk Appliances. Dell Powervault Backup to Disk Appliances can offer integrated backup and recovery with factory-installed, industry-leading backup applications featuring deduplication to optimize capacity and performance. Dell Powervault Tape Systems. Dell Powervault modular tape libraries and LTO drives offer scalability and versatility to help protect long-term digital investments. Dell Storage Professional Services. Dell brings the capability, experience, and know-how to further ensure success by offering professional services at any stage of a storage solution lifecycle, from assessment through design, implementation, operation, and maintenance. As part of a broad, intelligent data management strategy, Dell Fluid Data Solutions can help you manage your data throughout its entire lifecycle, putting it in the right place at the right time for the right cost.
And scale up without downtime as needs grow. The NX3500 is powerful. Consolidate block and file data with high-performance unified storage. Experience the advantages of dual active-active controllers with fast I/O processing and load balancing. The Powervault NX3500 has built-in data protection. This includes replication and user-restorable snapshots, as well as NDMP backup support. The Powervault NX3500 uses the Dell Scalable File System, which features high-performance, high-availability architecture, scalability without limits, advanced caching and load balancing, transparent migration to failover nodes, no 8 to 16 terabyte limits on file system size, expands block and file storage non-disruptively, scales up to 96 drives with 192 terabytes of raw capacity. Includes replication and user restorable snapshots, and native Active Directory and LDAP support. Using the Powervault NX3500, you can consolidate without compromise. Find out more at dell.com/NX3500.